the Gilded Age, especially that relate to the economic. And then we knew that at the last time of the Gilded Age, the crash of the market stock. Yeah. So here it relates to our today's topic about our depression. We have to know the cause of the Great Depressions. Yeah, as it was told that the crash of the stock market that was around 1929 was saying as the started of the Great Depression. So during the 1929, the world situation was very difficult. The depression also caused by the weakness of the economy in the United States. One of the reasons at the time was not only the corruptions as politically, but also because of the monopoly of some economic industry. That is why then when the industry got fail, and then it also caused the effect to the nations. And then at the time, some expert wondered, yeah, was the stock market crash really the cause of the depression? Well, actually, the stock market only one of the reasons, one of the cause, not the main cause. Yeah, that is why some experts said that it was not the stock market that the crash of the stock market that caused the depression. So that we see that the percentage of American household that own stock in the 1929, we have to know that the Americans uh, are until today's are the nation that are very good in having a knowledge about doing a business earlier. Yeah. So for that uh, the percentage of American household that owning stock in 1929 at the time was probably less than 10%. Yeah, if we compare to today's situation, we know that the percentage is about 50% up. That most largely because of retirement. Yeah, it was about 401,000 at the time. So that ultimately, the experts said that the effects of the crash at the time were in a lot of ways psychologically. Yeah, because the hearts of the economic situations, many people, many industry got bankrupt, and then of course it caused people psychologically. It affect on people, everyone's at the time. Yeah, it might be said that almost the same with the situation during the pandemic. Yeah, psychologically, many people get impact of the pandemic. Now, the first is the banking problem. The crash of the stock market in 1929 took especially heavy toll on the nation's bank. Yeah, maybe if we talk about the banking problem, we can compare to Indonesian situations during 1998 with crisis monitor or Krismon. Now here, many of the nation bank had many loans to stock market speculator, and that could never be paid off. Yeah, they give a loan to some economic industry. Unfortunately, they cannot be paid. Yeah, they cannot return the money. Yeah, and then finally it causes the bank problem of ran out of money. There is no more money to be purchased or to be used or to be buy or sell. Yeah. Now here during the depressions, then more than 9,000 banks then failed nationwide, not only in one state, but almost in all state in the U.S. Yeah, the bank situation will fail, yeah, and then some of them went bankrupt. Now, by this situation, the stock market was was set as a crash, and its subsequent the failure of the bank cost that that reached until billions of dollars, and then left many wondering whether their money was safe anywhere. And maybe it is the situation that we may face in Indonesia when people thought about their money in the bank, whether the money safe or not. Yeah. Now here, if we illustrate, we can say that the purchases process between the producer and the consumer uh, is not balanced with their wages. Yeah, they were paid a very low payment, and they still needed to buy something or to use money or to pay something, but it was not enough for them, so that between the purchase and the wages, they got impact each other. Now here, when we talk about the cause of the Great Depression, we can say that of course the first there is no enough buyers. You produce many products, you produce money, the bank produce money, but the citizen didn't have enough money to buy anything. Yeah, it was because 40% of all family live in poverty in 1929 in the U.S. 40% that live in poverty was people who had lived before the crash. But then, when the crash occurred in the U.S., then the richest only 1% own 59% of nation wealth. So we can imagine that people at the time, many people live in poverty, or they got paid under what do you call it? The labor got paid under wealth or under good payment. Yeah, and here the poorest people, yeah, was about 87%, and they own only about 10% of the nation wealth. So not many people who got wealth at the time. Therefore, uh, many products, yeah, that was produced at the time got low demand. Yeah, you produce many product, but there was no people to buy your product. Yeah, so you got lost. Yeah. Now, then the market for luxury goods was also destroyed by the crash. Yeah, for example, we knew that during the Gilded Age, the mining, especially gold mining, was popular, and then during this depression, the luxury goods, so for example, the gold, also got crashed. Yeah, so the mining industry, especially the gold seller or the gold producer, also found the impact of the Great Depressions. And the second one is because too much debt. Yeah, people began buying many goods on credit. Yeah, we know that the U.S. The U.S. tried to educate their citizens to have their business by having a credit card. Yeah, then people use the credit card not only to do a business but also to get a loan from the bank. But during this depression, during the 1929, the people who loan money then use the money to buy some goods, yeah, or to have some credit, but unfortunately, they cannot afford themselves to pay back. Yeah, uh, they cannot afford anything to pay the loan from the bank. As the result, it was about 80% of all family had no saving at the time. Yeah, you have some money, even in a small amount, you have to pay it to the bank, but then your loan still not enough to pay back your loan. So that people don't think about what happened when people couldn't pay back loans. Yeah, too much debt. There was no money anymore at bank, and then it comes to the bankruptcy. And then the third reason was because over speculations in stock. Yeah, here a get rich quick attitude by the speculations by the speculators caused so many speculate over the stock. Yeah, so that people risk everything by buying on the margin. Yeah, and the effect at the time when the market collapsed. Yeah, this investor lost everything. Even bank collapse caused the loans were not be paid. Yeah, maybe we can imagine the situation when Indonesia faced the crisis monitor. Many bank couldn't afford to pay back their loans. And then overproduction and layoff. Yeah, industries were producing much more than could be sold. Yeah, they were forced to lay off workers and lower prices, and then the cycle get worse. Now, this situation can be compared to pandemic situations. Yeah, many people then lay off. Yeah, many workers then lay off. Even they got fired, and then the company couldn't afford to pay. The pay leave. And then also the cause of the farming crisis. Yeah, as we remember that during the Gilded Age, many farming were built, and then the farming that built near to the railroad, in order to easier, uh, in order to help them to distribute the product. Yeah, but then during after so many farming were built during the depression, then the farming situation will get the crisis. Now here, farmers suffer through drought and low prices. Yeah, we knew that before the depression, the farmer also faced the situation of low prices of the product. Yeah. Now here, during these depressions, with low prices, farmers were unable to repay their loans or purchase the goods. So we know that everything that happened in the U.S. During the depressions bring the situation uh, to the situation of not cannot afford for paying the loan to the bank. Yeah, as the effect, then more banks were collapsed. Yeah, bank were collapsed. Many workers were laid off. Yeah, many workers at the time were fired. Yeah, bank had no money, and then bank were collapsed. And some experts said that there were the major reason of the depression because of the government mistake. It said that mismanaged the country. Yeah. Now here, when we talk about the government mistake here, the government set low interest. Yeah, before the crash. Yeah, so the rate for the low the rate for the low interest at the time, and then before the crash. But then after the crash, the government tried to raise the interest rate. Yeah, and unfortunately, uh, people or even the business industry cannot afford for them. Yeah, and as the effect, stock market speculation also was unregulated at the time. Yeah, it means that the rules from the government was not so tight, was not so strict to regulate the stock market, so that the bank deposit were not guaranteed. Yeah, If we see in Indonesia, when you have your saving at the bank, there is always information that uh, tabungan Anda dijamin oleh OJK. Now here in depressions, the bank deposit were not guaranteed anything. So when the bank got collapsed, so the customer lost their money. And the second reason at the time was seen as the effect of the Great Depressions. Yeah, uh, what are the effect of Great Depression to the U.S. and maybe the effect of the Great Depression also in fact effects to the world. Yeah. Now here, if you see from the picture, it was the situation of a payment and loan for the bank. Yeah, people are trying to get loans. Here, the poverty get raised. Yeah, many more poor people live in the city, and also it is about the poverty. Even they cannot afford to buy or to rent a small apartment or to buy a small house, so that they build a house from unused wood. Yeah, maybe this is the situation in Indonesia right now. Yeah, but in the US they faced the situation around 1929. Nah, it was also the effect of the depressions. Yeah, this family that cannot afford anything for their living just live under uh, a tent. Yeah, it is also the effect. Yeah, many more poor people that live in the nations. And also it caused some children to have not good in nutrient. Yeah, because of the economic situation, family cannot afford to buy a healthy food for the children. This is also the situation where the poor had to queue in order to get lunch, a free lunch from the government. Now, this is also the situations during the Christmas day. Yeah, yeah, the picture show that the situation of queuing of bread and other thing from the government. So here we can summarize that the effect of the Great Depression at the time was around 25% of the people are aware unemployment. It means that many people got homelessness, many people got hunger situation, and psychological depressions. It means that many people got depressions, and then what should we call it? Many people get lose their logical, yeah, and more cooperation that didn't promise anything to the people. And what about the solutions? Yeah, at first the solution was proposed by President Hoover. Yeah, um, uh, he uh, he was the president that do little and wait for things to get better. Yeah, here President Hoover privately have private charities that are responsible for helping the poor. Yeah, and then there was a situation that known as a Hoover's Attitude. Yeah, here I quote from some books that Herbert Hoovers in 1930 said that I do not believe that the power and duty of the general government ought to be extended to the relief of individual suffering. Though people support the government should not support the people. That was the situation that caused people think about a bad or the mistake of the government. Yeah, because Hoover said that though people support the government should not support the people. Yeah, so it means that the government will let the situation or will let the nation to to overcome the depression by themselves. Okay, this is not for our discussions, yeah, because we are running out of time. Now, then desperate time called desperate measure. Yeah. Before I continue, is there any questions?
No, I mean,
Okay, now let's see. Hoover himself began to change his views. Yeah, before Hoover was the the president that had a good what's what do you call it had good record of for the nations. Yeah, he started some huge problem. If you watch, I forgot the name, the title of the movie. It was about earthquake. There was a Hoover Dam. Uh, Whenever the earthquake outbreaks, many small stick iron will comes up to the road in order to avoid vehicle to pass. Yeah, and then Hoover then raised the tariff. Yeah, but then it become backfire to him, yeah, and his presidency. And he supported programs to help banks in order to extend loan to struggling business, but it was found that this strategy was not helpful for the business. Yeah, it was only for extended the loan. It means that the business will get loan with the interest. And then what about the effect at the time? Yeah, after during these depressions until the elections of 1932, American people wanted the new leadership. It means that many people in the U.S. didn't want to have Hoover to be the president. Yeah, as the result of the election at the time, uh, Franklin Delano Roosevelt defeated Hoover to be the president, and he was from the Democrat Party. And then here, Roosevelt promised the nation of a new deal, yeah, in order to overcome the situation, the hard situations. Now let's see. During his inaugural, FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, said that the only thing we have to fear is the fear itself. This is the famous statement from Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Now, Roosevelt promised to have a new deal to the American citizens. Yeah, what are the new deal actually? Here, the New Deal was known as the FDR's plan. Yeah, it was a strategy to help the nations in order to get through the Great Depressions. Yeah, about how to overcome the situation, the depression situation. This New Deals was said to be done by enacting many government programs that designed to provide relief, recovery, and reform. Yeah. Now here, uh, the first is we talk about Federal Emergency Relief Association. As FDR said that relief, recovery, reform. The first is FERA, or we said that Federal Emergency Relief Association. It means that he wanted this association to help fund local relief effort. Yeah, he also wanted to avoid government hands out, yeah, in order to get a worse time. And then he also afford for public works program. Yeah, if you see from the picture, many new work programs should be included many people. Yeah, And then he also proposed government jobs should be help people to get by a good salary. Yeah, it was known by USA Work Program or WPA. Yeah, unfortunately, people think about who will pay the salaries because everyone get impact of the depressions, especially economically. Yeah. So unfortunately, some experts said that this program proposed by Roosevelt uh, was afraid to be failed. Yeah, because uh, because of the economic situation. And then after that, FDR endorsed deficit spending. Yeah, here the government has a deficit when it spends more than it collects in taxes. We remember that the United States tax the people firstly during the 17th to 18th century. Uh, the taxes and its money then was borrowed to be paid back in the future. Unfortunately, many cannot afford for paying back. Yeah, so that people ask the question: when is it appropriate for the government to deficit spend? It should be government to deficit their spend. And then uh, Roosevelt also proposed other programs such as FDIC or Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. This corporation was guaranteed bank deposit, and it was also help restore confidence in bank. As we know that many banks were collapsed at the time, so people get pessimistic about um, release or about relieve the bank situations. And then FDR also proposed the Wagner Act. Yeah, this is the guaranteed the right of workers to join labor union. Yeah, as we know that labor union help labor in many ways. Yeah, so during the depressions, government uh, also persuade the workers, even the lowest paid workers, to join the labor unions in order to get protections. And then after that, to have a social security act. Yeah, here when we talk about social security act, we are going to talk about the collect social security taxes from all workers. Yeah, by this law, the social security act took some amount of money from the worker as the tax. Yeah, maybe in Indonesia we can say it as a BPJS tenaga kerja. Ya, uh, beberapa persen dari gaji pekerja itu diambil untuk membayar BPJS ketenaga kerjaan seperti itu. Nah, here in Social Security Act, government will pay the pension to retired people and disabled people. Yeah, so during the situation of having Social Security Act, the taxes were taken from the workers in order to save for their pension and to save for the whenever they get health trouble or health situation. Now, as a result of the New Deals, people were helped by e-suffering and provide hope, but it did not end the depressions. Yeah, the depressions were lasted until the Second World War. Yeah, so as the result of this new deal, the traditions of more active and more expensive government occur. Yeah, still relate to the economic, government still spend much than before. Now this is Franklin Delano Roosevelt and his wife. Okay, before we go to Cold War and civil rights, is there any questions? I'm going to be fast because we have so much topic today. Yeah. Okay, now let's see. If no questions, so we are going to talk about Cold War and also civil rights. Yeah. Here, we also talk about decolonializations and the global human rights movement. If you know about Martin Luther King, we are going to talk about his movement. Yeah. Okay, let's see here. Uh, we are going to see the world history as the interpretive lens. It means that uh, we are going to talk about the post 1945 period after the World War II, where the US or world should be more about considering multiple viewpoints than adding contents. Yeah. Now, here, as the English learner, as the English students, you should able to put U.S. history into global context. Now, this is the situation of the colonialization and the Cold War. Yeah, it meant that the colonialization by British Empire and the Cold War between America, the U.S. and the uh, Soviet Union. Now here, what happened if we take the colonialization rather than the Cold War as defining global event of the post 1945 to the world? Yeah, let's see. The first is a snapshot of the colonialization. Yeah, it was from the mid of 19th century to the First World War. It was more than 450 million people were subjected to colonial rule. It means that to be colonialized or to be slaved by other country. Here, the colonialization began after the World War First, but was greatly accelerated by World War Second. And then it was led by India and Vietnam. Around 35 new nations were created between 1957 and 1962, mostly in Africa. Yeah, it was also as the result of the colonialization. Some country were freed and then build the new nations. And what about the role of the Cold War to the world? Yeah, anti-colonial social movement radicalized by Cold War dynamics, and particularly when U.S. chose anti-communism over anti-imperialism. Yeah, uh, because this is about the Cold War between the U.S. and the Soviet Union. It means that it was the cold, uh, it was the war between anti-communism, yeah, and the communists, yeah, or anti-communism and anti-imperialism, yeah. The U.S. And its ally were the anti-communisms, and the communist country are Soviet Union and his ally and its ally, while the anti-imperialism means Soviet Union and its ally, yeah. Now here, many movements then drew on rhetoric, resource of Cold War institution, and also the movement led by university students. Yeah, the strike of the students in different universities in the world. And the Cold War also made the world smaller and helped leaders and activities around the world to see communities. Yeah, here we know that the effect of Cold War in many ways. Now, if we see the Cold War as the war of narrative, we are going to see the global Cold War in 2005 as a way start. That induced the Cold War was between United States, Empire of Liberty, and Soviet as the Empire of Justice. Yeah. So the Cold War lasted very long, yeah, in which between the U.S. against the Soviet Union. So we see here in this Cold War, in this battle, the two superpower country attempted to convince new nations to join their camp. Yeah, for example, the Soviet Union with the Soviet Union had its it allied, the biggest allies of the Soviet Union was the China Republic, yeah, and other small country, while uh, the U.S. and its allies with Britain and other many European countries. Yeah. Now here, the leaders of new nations that become their ally had to choose whether they have to get involved into the Cold War or not. Yeah, or to cast their lot with the Cold War. Nah, during the in Asia, during the Cold War, there was also the situation in Asia related to a bipolar view on Vietnam and also Nepal, yeah, uh, and also India. Now here, emphasizing the experience of newly post-colonial state, yeah, the bipolar superpower in Asia was seen as the subject to revisions. It means that the non-aligned movement, yeah, as well as the specific case, such as India with Mahatma Gandhi, Ghana, and then Vietnam with the leader of its country, and Ethiopia, and other new nations serve the example of how the view from developing world challenge traditional American and Cold War narrative. Yeah, so it was it was so difficult for the new countries or the new nations, especially the smaller one, to to refuse the influence of the Cold War. They should state it. They should state themselves and the country whether they have to join with the communists or the anti-communists. And if we trace the effect of the colonializations by early 1960s, we know that new left leaders were hailing the third world, yeah, and as the future, such as some countries in South Asia and in Southern Asia, and as the model for liberation movement in the West. So if we talk about this new third world, we can take the example as Vietnam and Cambodia in Southeast Asia, and also Algeria in Africa, India in Near East, and even Cuba in the West that serve inspiration for anti-colonial liberation. We know that Cuba is a communist, and then Vietnam and Cambodia is anti-communist. Now I'm gonna paste these questions because we are running out of time. Now let's see some possibly familiar primary sources that we know about the third world. Yeah, uh, we understand that Vietnam had declared their independence in 1945, and the declaration was taken place at Ho Chi Minh City, and then Ho Chi Minh is known as uh, the capital city of the Vietnam. And then there was a non-aligned conference in 1955 happened in Bandung, and it was known as Konferensi Asia Afrika. And then the conference was reported by the 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 by the journalist named Richard Wright. Yeah. And then after Conference Asia Africa, the war faced the new situation by the declarations of some independent country that got freedom from the colonial. And also another statement occurred during the 1960s. Now here, if we see that Cold War and civil right, both are almost the same. Yeah. If we talk about a Cold War, we are talking about a nation. We also talking about civil right. Yeah. Now here, let's see the early Cold War. Yeah, the early Cold War was happened around 1947 two years after the World War Second ended. Now here, in 1957, the Eisenhower speech to the country coach language of Cold War, and also related to international human rights. Yeah, later as the effect of Cold War, we know that what should we call it as a United Nations was formed. Yeah, so if you see the picture, you will see that some cartoonists draw the situations of the Cold War by their scratch. Yeah, if you see here, communist propaganda, yeah, keep Little Rock school segregated, and then whites only, and then uh, other thing. Yeah, it was drawn by some cartoonists. Actually, it was their way to protest, yeah, but because uh, it was good for them to protest by the picture, it meant that many aspects of life were affected by the picture. Now here, around 1960, we talk about the JFK situation. John Fitzgerald Kennedy as the president of the United States. Yeah. It was said that 1960s as the year of Africa because 17 new nations in Africa alone and declared themselves as the independent country. And then several African leaders to the U.S. Are refused service, especially in Delaware, Maryland, and route from NYC to DC. And around 1963, Birmingham actions are larger scale, replay Little Rock. Yeah. Here around the 1960 was Kennedy's time to inaugurate it as the president, but after not over 6 months, Kennedy were killed in Kansas. Yeah. In Texas. I forgot the city. Now, here, then we have Martin Luther King's letter from Birmingham jail because of the movement of Martin Luther King's. Yeah, he was sent to jail, and then was sent a letter from the jail. Yeah. Said that the nations of Asia and Africa are moving with jet-like speed toward gaining political independence, but we still creep at horse and buggy pace toward gaining a cup of coffee at lunch counter. Yeah, here Martin Luther King's ironically stated thing that against the government because of the what should we call it uh, discrimination of black in the U.S. Now here, Birmingham is one of the city in the U.S. Okay. Now, when we talk about some fronts of containment about the Cold War and the U.S. situation, both President Eisenhower and President Kennedy sought to pursue multiple forms of containment. Yeah, they limit the spread of communism, both of them, and also national liberation movement. They try to overcome the situations, and then the segregation movement. Yeah. The Eastern establishments figures both administration knew between South and the North was not so much. Yeah. And the views of administration figure was neither African nor Negroes at the time. Saying someone as a Negro is okay. We're ready for democracy and should only be brought along gradually. Yeah. Later on the civil right movement, uh, Malcolm X, yeah, one of the what should we call it? One of the civil right actor cultivated Pan African ties, and he compared U.S. situation to the South Africa situation, especially Angola. Yeah, and then it was totally Carmichael regularly linked the struggle to black people in the U.S. and then they compared to the black around the world. And then also, it was the Black Panthers' agenda at the time that was said as based on the idea of internal colonialization because of the situation of the United States and in order to abolish the discrimination. And then Martin Luther King also state his statement about the war in Vietnam address, which cite the war revolutions, yeah, because of the decolonization of U.S. on Asia, and we knew that uh, America lost many in the war of Vietnam, yeah, and the Vietnam War was also caused that many young male citizen sent to Vietnam, yeah, in order to service the country, and some of them were killed in Vietnam. That was why then American then declare all male teenager above 17 that survived from the Vietnam War should have married and have many children, and it was then caused the baby boomer, yeah, because America was afraid of losing their generations. This is Malcolm X, yeah, and you can click on the link I put here on about Martin Luther King statement, yeah, on Vietnam War. Now, this is something that we are going to think about, yeah. So that was about uh, decolonialization. That was about Cold War and the New Deal and the effect on the U.S. until today. That we have to understand and that we have to know because we are going to because you learn about English. Yeah. Well, is there any question so far related to today's topic? Great Depressions and New Deal. And you can read more information on the book that I have already uploaded on Appling. Yeah. Okay. If no questions asked to be asked here, we are going to return to Appling, and you may type your question on Appling whenever you find the questions. Yeah. Okay, we return to that link and I'm going to end Google Meet meeting. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah,
Okay,
don't
miss.
forget
Thank you.
to type your question on that link. Thank you.
Thank you.